Wait, freeze?
I think he's frozen.
Are we live?
Oh.
Is this live?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got no. Oh, there we go. Stream is live. It just hit on my end. It was about a 13-second delay. Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, not the vice president, host of Operation GCD, with an Operation GCD invasion of the Occult Rejects here, with fellow Occult Reject Julia from the Cosmic Peaks podcast, and of course Nick, the host of the Occult Rejects. I can't hear you. No, there you go.
What's going on? Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, this conversation kind of grew out of a conversation we had last week, right, on the Occult Rejects. I don't think it's quite dropped yet.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like a preview, actually. I think it will drop next Wednesday or something like that.
I was gonna say let's go ahead and tease that episode, because that's going to be a good conversation for folks to check out as well. And if folks of the interwebs are not familiar with Tuesday Weld, this name came up in a conversation last week about Occult Elvis. And Tuesday Weld, when Julia brought it up in the conversation and asked me if I knew Tuesday Weld, I simply replied, "It's one of my favorite people in the entire universe." Not because I'm pro Tuesday, but it's because she's connected to everything.
I love how you say not because I'm pro Tuesday.
I'm not. I'm definitely not pro Tuesday.
Yeah, no, me either. But she's somebody that I've actually I've mentioned several times in previous episodes. The first time I talked about her on my show was in 2022. So this is definitely due for a refresher, just for even people who listen to my show. Because I just assume that everyone knows about her, because I did do an episode on her a couple years ago, but
Sure.
It's been so long, you'd have to dig through hundreds of episodes to get to that one. So I'm kind of excited to revitalize it today and make it more well known for people who haven't heard of her. So we're throwing down on Tuesday on a Monday. So this is gonna be good.
On a Monday.
Yeah, right.
And Nick, you had no idea who Tuesday Weld was when this came up during that show, right? I mean, I think Tuesday's done a great job of laying low,
under the radar.
Beneath the purview of the public, right?
There was the only time I had ever really heard about her is that I think like one time Lisa, for some reason, and she can't remember why, she was looking into if somehow she was related to Joe Rogan. She had heard somewhere. It's weird, who knows if it's true.
I didn't know that at all.
That was the only time I really ever heard of Tuesday Weld, and had no idea who she really is still.
If that's true, I'm gonna shit my whole entire pants.
Well, I can't believe I haven't done Joe Rogan's family tree yet. That's shocking to me, as much Joe Rogan stuff as I've done.
It wouldn't surprise me, but somebody that I've worked with a few times, I think Nick has too, is Sean McCann.
Yes.
And he knew so much about Tuesday, and he and I talked about her together. And so I just want to give him a quick shout out, because he dropped some stuff into my life about her that I didn't even know about, that I included in this presentation. So before I get started, I just want to say shout out to him too, because he's looked into her and found some really crazy stuff. But I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of her, but...
Well, may I interject real quick?
Yeah.
Before we describe who is Tuesday Weld, how did you you're saying Sean McCann has done podcasts on this too now? I haven't heard anyone talk about Tuesday Weld since Adam Go Rightly circa 2007 or something. What I mean?
So Sean McCann,
that's how old the conversation used to be with her.
Right. I'm not sure when it dropped into his, periphery for him to start looking into it, but I found her looking into Laurel Canyon, because she is a big 60s counterculture person. And then I had mentioned her in passing to Sean, and he was like, "Oh shit, I know so much about her." And then we did an episode on her together. But I'm not sure if you've ever seen a picture of her, Nick, but she is like the proverbial Madonna, Marilyn Monroe, Jane Mansfield, big blue eyes, blonde hair. She looks like a Barbie doll, essentially.
She could have been all those things, right? She could have been bigger than all those stars, right?
Yes, yes. It seems like she fits that archetype. Yeah, there she goes with Jack Nicholson. You'll see her hanging around. It's like she's everywhere and nowhere at the same
Exactly.
time, you know? She's everywhere for those who know where she is. But nowhere to people that are familiar with 60s counterculture. When you look back on it, you're like, oh, like I said, Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe, whoever was big during that time. She's sitting right here next to Jack Nicholson. It's like, who is this person? If you saw this picture, you wouldn't even know who she was.
Yeah, you
But
think she's
she's
just some sort of
everywhere.
fangirl, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
So,
No, so
I
this is when
kinda
they did a movie together. I think this was 1972. They did a film together, if I'm not
did
mistaken. I don't remember which
I
one it was
can't
off the top of my
remember which
head.
one it was. I think I have it in my notes for later,
But
but
Tuesday's
she
been in
tr
Hollywood since she was a little girl, right? She was about what, 7 years old, I believe, when she started acting.
Yep. Yeah, she was really, really young. And I guess in order to understand why she's significant and what role she plays in this weird society of famous people, you kind of almost have to
It's a
go
cult.
back in time and look at her family, right?
Sure.
Who are the Welds? Where did she come from? Why is she special? XYZ. And it turns out actually that the Weld family is a really, really old family. They came over on the Mayflower type shit,
Yup.
one of the very first families. They came to America in the 1600s from England. And the Weld family is actually an extended family of the Boston Brahmin family. The name Brahmin might sound familiar to people who are listening to this. Brahmin is kind of like one of those really old families that kind of run everything. They're like the Boston elite, if you will, the Brahmin family. So the Welds are an extension of the Boston Brahmins, and the Welds are actually the ones who helped start Harvard University. As a gift, they were given by the royal family. The Weld family was given Roxbury, Massachusetts, and like Jamaica Plain. It's all Weld land.
Weldville.
And yeah, basically. So you got this
You,
weird Boston kind of with the Brahmins, but also like most of Massachusetts has turned to like Weld land.
sure. And they started that all on a mound there in Jamaica Plain they
Isn't
called
that
it Weld
so?
Hill.
Yeah, freaking
Yep.
mound builder weirdness,
Yep.
right? So
Goes
she's
in line with her
also
family's connections to the Society of Cincinnati.
Well, she's related to the governor of Massachusetts, which was William Weld.
Bill, yep.
And if you go all the way back in time, right, the 1300s is the earliest recorded members of the Weld family. They're all like sheriffs in London.
Yep.
Some of them are knights, shit like that. And then
They claim to be from
started
some old school Celtic stuff, though, right? Like the ancient kings of Tara, right?
Yeah. So I think they were, I don't know if it was in the 1300s or when they came over on the Mayflower, but they were Protestant. But after they got over here, they sort of kind of like integrated their power into religiosity. And a lot of them converted to Catholicism and became like Jesuit priests.
That's creepy.
So there's so many layers to this. And actually, John B. Weld and Alfred Weld, to be specific, they were Jesuit priests, and Alfred was known to be a Jesuit priest, an astronomer, and the administrator for the Society of Jesus.
Uh-oh.
So it's like I said, it's like if you go even all the way back
So
to the 1300s.
he was an administrator there. That wasn't even just a member. He's like, I'm not just a member. I'm the president.
Right. Yeah. It's like sheriffs, knights, Jesuit priests, administrators for the Society of Jesus. You got astronomers, Boston elite, the Brahmin family. I mean, the Welds are nuts. You got governors. They own most of Massachusetts.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the infamous incident between Bill Weld and Whitey Bulger's brother? the governor, Bill Weld, as
No.
you pointed out. So that is a cousin of hers. He also descends from Eliezer Weld. So Eliezer Weld was a colonel in the Revolution there on the Weld Mound there in Jamaica Plains. In fact, that the Weld Manor there on Weld Hill served as a operations headquarters for the Massachusetts contingent of the Revolution. So they're
My
very, very
God.
integral. Very integral. That was basically, headquarters, operations center, right? For
So
the
they're like
Northern
founding fathers and stuff. Like they're
damn near, like close to it, like
yeah.
the next level down.
Wow.
As
Because
far as Massachusetts is concerned, I mean they were major. Again, as you pointed out, that they were the religious heads with the starting Harvard because that started out as a religious school, and then they were the military heads because they weren't generals, but they're the ones that ran their house was run. They run everything out of their house, and whatever that mound was, they operated. The rest of their friends all thought it was important for some reason.
Well, of course, it goes all the way back to ancient history, doesn't it, with the mound builders and all of that?
Well, I mean, even within that family, probably even, maybe even a different track, because I believe those ancient kings of Tara they claim to be descended from, they used to be crowned on a mound over there, right? The hill.
Yeah, wasn't like
What's the name of that?
Jekyll Island supposed to be, there was something built on a mound, or am I making
Oh, yeah.
that up?
No,
Okay.
no. The Rockefellers, another society family out of Society of Cincinnati family, out of New York, the New York chapter. They owned the Indian Mound Cottage down there where the secret meetings were held for the rituals.
That's what I thought. The
Rituals to form the magic that we call the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, that was all mound stuff.
Oh, it's definitely it's always mound stuff with these people, and that's what I'm saying. Like I was going to call it the Hill Cumorah, but I'm like, no, I'm thinking in my head that's Mormon stuff. That's Mormon stuff. The Hill Tara is the ancient, is a place over there in Ireland where the old ancient kings of ancient Celtic kings used to they have their coronations rituals and ceremonies. So that's who the Welds claim to be descended from.
That's so nuts to me, because it's like they have little pockets everywhere. It's not just in America, obviously, because there's members of the family like Sir Frank Weld. He was the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and also the governor of Western Australia. And then like Thomas Weld, he was one of the ones who helped create Harvard, and he was a personal friend of King George III.
Typical. Yeah, they're a very Anglo-focused family. They seem to be still to this day, and they're having this Anglo-American influence, this British influence on America. And speaking of that, back to Bill Weld, where I took us off on this tangent there, Julia. So Bill Weld was the governor, as you pointed out, Tuesday's cousin, and Whitey Bulger's brother was the president of the state senate, Bill Bulger. So I'm sure if either of you were aware of that the infamous gangster Whitey Bulger, while he's being a gangster, his brother's the president of the state senate in the same city of Boston there.
Oh,
Go
sure.
figure, right?
You have to have somebody in both sides.
Exactly. Well, they're running the same operations just from different angles.
Right.
So Bill Weld and Bill Bulger get in an infamous dispute. I may be too much of a New Englander to even know this story, but they get in an infamous dispute on the floor of the State House there in Boston. And Bulger's roasting Weld, saying like, oh, my family's been here since blah, 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 blah. And Weld, watches him, in his little temper tantrum in front of the joint session. Again, he's the governor there at the State House, Bill Bulger's house. He's running as the state's president of the state senate. And Weld just replies with, yeah, we sent over our help here first. So that's the Weld family. That's the Weld family.
Yeah, well, and they're also responsible for like setting up major trade routes and stuff. And so William Gordon Weld founded some kind of fleet of trading vessels which did opium trade to China. This is the Weld this is what they're known for. I mean,
this is the Welds.
and so William Gordon Weld's son, William Fletcher Weld, he expanded like this little empire, right? And he introduced an even bigger fleet of ships, and they were called the Black Horse Flag Fleet. And they were opium traders, and they were coming straight out of like Massachusetts doing opium trade. I mean, this family, I'm talking like they are the elites. They're the Brahmins. They're the elite class. They're doing opium trade. They're involved in government. They're involved in religion. They're in New Zealand. They're in Australia. They're everywhere, literally.
For sure.
From going all the way back to King George III, and he like knighted some of them. So this is
And
where
running
she's
shit,
coming
right?
from.
For centuries.
Right. Kind of like a Rothschild for America.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes to
except for
like
there, it seems more
Rockefeller,
overtly.
right?
What's that?
I said I think everybody fixates on like Rockefeller and like names like that, but the Weld family should be mentioned when those things come up.
For sure. In my perspective, they're one and the same. They're both these Society Cincinnati families, but you know, in regard to the Welds, they seem more overtly involved in witchcraft throughout their history. I'm not saying the other ones aren't. I'm just saying they seem to brag about it. And I'm not even talking about the time Tuesday Weld wore a witch's hat to an interview to roast the fact that everyone was calling her a witch in the 70s.
You know where she did that interview? It was the Chateau Marmont in California, where like I'm pretty sure that's where John Belushi died, and like Anton LaVey used to hang out, and it's supposedly haunted by all the ghosts of all the dead celebrities that have passed through that. She did that interview there. I'm pretty sure she's made fun in the public eye of like, I'm a witch and I have a high pedigree from this elite family. What you gonna do about it? Like, she's said stuff like that. I mean,
pretty much. She's got a lot of connections to the Hotel Marmont there. So old Jack's one of his best friends in life, Mr. Bob Cocaine Evans, his producer buddy for the film Godfather, Al Ruddy. Al Ruddy's wife owned that Chateau Marmont Hotel. Back in the 60s and early 70s.
It's just so crazy because it's like I said, she's like the Babylon girl, but she's not everywhere. Because she's everywhere and nowhere, and like a ghost. She's like a ghost in Hollywood. Like, she pops up everywhere. Everyone knows her. But
she's not a household name like Marilyn, right? She's not a household name like Marilyn or even Jane Mansfield.
Exactly. Yes. So, getting kind of more into her now that we know about like her family and shit. She was born on August 27th, 1943. And it's based on the research I've done, like in these elite cults. People like Tuesday are chosen at a very early age to carry out whatever it is that they have for them. And I do think that she was chosen I think 7, as you said earlier, is probably when they started noticing, because they said that she had abundant psychic and clairvoyant abilities from a very young age. And this was something that they covet, obviously, especially when you come from a family, an elite family, and you're got clairvoyant and psychic abilities. So she's like a 1960s Laurel Canyon era gal, you know, and she was in the movies, but she wasn't like Maryland status famous, which I'll explain why later on. But she's like your typical archetype of the Babylon, like blonde hair, blue-eyed, sex kitten. This is what the perfect woman should look like, kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. And I think that was her role, though, is what all you're describing. This is all very well organized, because this is one of her first major acting. She was in other things starting very young. I think her first acting role was age 7. I think she was 16 here in this TV show called you familiar with this one, Julia? The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis.
I came across that one. Yeah. So I've never watched it, obviously, but
strangely enough, I watched this long before I really understood or knew who Tuesday Weld was.
Really?
So it was a popular show in my household growing up.
Well, I actually so you know, like when somebody's getting started, they'll be in like some shit stuff before they like really hit the big time and like get like all right, not Tuesday. So
No, and this show shows it right
literally,
here. So the synopsis
but
of the show
even
is the end of the innocence of the 1950s before the oncoming 1960s revolution. That
which
was her
she
role.
played a huge part of in real
That was her
life.
role. Yeah.
Yes,
No,
she
that's
played a
what the
huge.
show. That was the show. Like that was kind of the start of her revolution of the 60s, right? Where she's kind of this
Right.
puppet master of the 60s. It starts in 1959 when she's 16 years old. In this TV show, that the TV show is about the end of the 50s and the this new era of the get out with the beatniks and then with these the kind of this new hippie kind of scene almost.
She played a huge role in the inspiration behind a lot of music and culture too. But like I
Yeah.
have so let's say she's developing these psychic abilities around like age 7, and then she began a modeling career at age 12, and she landed her film debut at age 12 in a freaking Alfred Hitchcock movie.
There you go.
So it's like she skipped all of the like, oh, I gotta try to get
Right.
roles and stuff. It was like born, psychic, 12 years old, she's a model, and she's in an Alfred Hitchcock movie. And literally nobody knows about her. It's like she didn't even have to try. They just like threw her in and was like, hey, Alfred Hitchcock, here you go, bitch. Like,
Yep.
how many people would have died to be in an Alfred Hitchcock movie? He was huge back then. And this is actually
So you think it's just because of her family, right? Her family's running Hollywood and can insert her
100.
into this.
Oh,
Right.
100. And a lesser known thing about her as well is she was Stanley Kubrick's first pick for Lolita.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
The infamous pedophile movie. So
when I say her family, I
mean
mean like the cult family, right? Like the family,
yeah.
of which the Welds are obviously a big part of and included in, but they're not the only family in there.
Right. I love this picture of her and Elvis because it's, I brought it up before. I was like, oh, did Elvis know Tuesday Weld, or do you know that Elvis knew Tuesday Weld? And it's like,
Right.
oh no, I don't even know who that is. Well, he sure got a tender love and care for her right there.
Yeah.
How
I've
about
even
this guy?
seen a picture where he was sneaking a little smooch from Tuesday.
How about this guy?
Who is that?
That's Mr. Steve McQueen. He's part of the family.
Oh, 100. He's got a nice little hug for her too.
It's a cousin of mine. I'm McQueen.
Are you really?
Yeah. My second great grandmother is a McQueen. So I think he's somewhere around my fifth cousin. But anyway, this is 1969, right? I think it's when this photo was taken. And so,
wow.
He steals Bob Evans, old cocaine Bob Evans' wife the next year. Steve McQueen does. Allie McGraw. When I say steal, I think all these people are involved in the sex cult, right? So like,
oh yeah,
he runs off with cocaine Bob's wife. She's married to George Papard at this time. I believe that's when they're married, is around that same time.
And during the time when she, I don't know how old she was.
No, the A-Team. He was the star of the television show, the A-Team.
Mouse,
oh, right? I thought you said was she 18?
Hannibal.
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, Colonel Hannibal Smith. I'm too big of an A-Team fan, I guess, but anyone in the 80s, remembers this dude from that. They don't remember him from Breakfast at Tiffany's. You know what I
mean? No. Well, it seems like to me everybody had a bit of a crush on her. I think Elvis was still married to Priscilla when he was in a romantic relationship with Tuesday. Yeah. So that was all kind of like hush hush and like swept under the rug because those two were in a movie together, which I will get to in a minute. But JJ, have you heard of a movie she was in called Lord Love a Duck?
I was gonna bring that movie up to you. Sure.
Yeah,
that's exactly like that Dobie Gillis show. It's spawning this revolution that she's in charge of, and we're kind of bragging about it more or less. But
right, so like it's basically like this demon that grants you wishes, right? And she just wants fame and she wants whatever. But anyways.
But she's like a cult high priestess in that, right? Barbara Ann, right?
Yeah, she plays Barbara Ann, nicknamed Barbie, right?
Yeah, but she allegedly sang on the Beach Boys song Barbara Ann as a tribute to this movie that came out at the same time as this movie.
That's what I was gonna say. So she's
talking about the process again,
everybody.
Right? Yeah.
The Beach Boys were infatuated with her. And that's where Barbara Ann came from, was this
Yeah.
Lord Love a Duck, because they were infatuated with Tuesday.
Yep.
And it's, to me, it's signaling again like she's the Barbie, right? And I kind of talked to Nick before about like where the Barbie origins came from, and they're pretty sinister. You
so
know,
you're saying like the
So-
Barbie doll is like some sort of like idol of some regard? Is that what you're kind of describing it
Right.
as? Oh, okay.
The
I like
very
that.
first Barbie doll that ever came out was a sex toy.
Yikes.
Yes, and
It was definitely sold sexually.
yes, and it had nipples and it had a vagina, and all they did literally to market it to children was remove the nipples and the vagina. It was the same dress, it was the same face, it was the same hair, everything was the same. And when the guy took this sex doll, just removed the anatomy parts, he took it to like a kids convention thing to sell it, and parents were like, "What are you doing with this?" Like, they were creeped out by it. But now it's like that's the staple, you know, it's like a Barbie doll that's sexualizing for children, basically.
For sure.
Because before the Barbie, little girls would play with babies, and like they were learning how to become a mother.
You know, learn how to be a whore.
Right. Yeah. And then they introduced the Ken doll, and it's like, use your imagination.
Oh, what's
kids.
that new? Yeah, they got a new evolution. I mean, I like how you're describing this, because that's how I look at the new evolution of this stuff. The American dolls or American girls or something like that.
Oh yeah, American Girl dolls.
That's Barbie even to the next level of evolution of this kind of psyop tomfoolery you're describing.
Yes. But so I think it's interesting that she's like Barbara Ann in this movie.
Yep.
And the Beach Boys write this song. She's Barbie. She's blonde hair. She's blue eyes. She's got like the perfect body, literally everything. She is the epitome of
she supposedly
what, like,
stings on that too, as the legend goes.
She?
Yes, allegedly she's a backup singer in the song Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys. Again, as you pointed out, their obsession with her makes sense. Their music producers, Mr. Phil Spector, the Process guy, you know, the Wall of Sound guy, you know, the Wrecking Crew guy. And then, you know, so the Beach Boys are surrounded by that. You know, you got what's his name, Brian Wilson, you know, as the financier of Charles Manson and family. Well, I would argue he's just helping finance the Process at that rate. You know what I mean?
And, you know, Dennis Wilson, he's got a big
Dennis
hard
Wilson.
on for.
My apologies.
Oh,
Dennis
I was going to
Wilson.
say he's the one
Dennis
that had a big
Wilson.
hard on for Manson, had him living in his house and shit.
Right. And they're all friends with, I always mess this dude's name up. He's a music producer. He wrote the song Kokomo with the Wilson Boys, for the Scientology Tom Cruise classic film of the 80s, Cocktail. Was the song written for that. He was Charlie's cellmate at Terminal Island. Phil Kaufman.
Ooh, I don't know. Ooh,
Phil Kaufman.
That's a very familiar name.
Music producer, friend of the Beach Boys. Obviously, did produce some Beach Boys stuff along with writing with the Beach Boys and Kokomo. Phil Kaufman. I'm sorry. I might have got Terry Melcher matched up with Phil Kaufman, but they're both in the same mix with the Beach Boys, right? These people around Manson. The guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Phil Kaufman is definitely mentioned in Dave McGowan's work.
Yeah, that's where I first learned about him.
Yeah. That's how I know about him, at least. And
he was everywhere in the music scene. But yeah, he served. He was there in Terminal Island there with Chuck.
That's so wild, dude. You know, something else about her. I think, if I'm not mistaken, she was like 15 in Lord Love a Duck.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
she was born in what, 43?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think she was probably like 20 then, maybe.
Oh, she was
23, probably 22.
So this must be a quote from a different movie, because I said I have in my notes one of the male actors she worked with on one of these movies. I guess it wasn't this one. A quote from him was, "Tuesday is 15 going on 27." Specifically, that he said that. So it was like, I don't know, they all had like an infatuation with her, even when she was young. Like, she started when she was 12, got the Alfred Hitchcock movie, then she's with Elvis, she's with Jack Nicholson, she's obviously 15 still doing stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, Tuesday, she's 15 going on 27. Okay.
Who said that? Do you have a source for that
It just
quote?
said
Danny
it said,
Kaye. Was that? Does that sound
oh,
right?
is it? Did you find it?
That's when I looked when I searched the quote. That's what it came up was Danny Kaye. But I don't know this actor though. Do you know him?
No, the article that I
dude.
pulled it from said a male actor she worked with referred to her as, quote, Tuesday is 15 going on 27.
Yeah, it's this dude, Danny. I don't know this guy's work, but he was a much older dude than Tuesday, but he's buried in Westchester County, New York there, Nick. Valhalla. Typical.
New York.
Westchester specifically, right?
So is he like a bigwig guy, or?
I don't know. Says
he's an actor?
Yeah, he says he was an actor, comedian, singer, and dancer.
Ooh, she also knew Bing Crosby too.
Oh, maybe they were all in White Christmas together.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't know her to be in White Christmas. Is she in that?
No, I'm just saying I know that's a Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye. And I recognize that's the only thing I recognize Danny Kaye from.
Okay,
is with Bing Crosby.
I mean, she knows everybody, dude. Literally,
she does, doesn't she? Because this dude's a way older actor than she is.
Yeah, and apparently he was fantasizing about her being 27.
Okay, she was 16 in that. She was 16.
Oh, okay.
They did a film called Five Pennies together in 1959. So she was
right
around the same time she did that Dobie Gillis stuff.
She was later on after this stuff. She was in something called 77 Sunset Strip.
Oh,
which also stood out. Yeah, I think it was a show called 77 Sunset Strip, and it was another like weird Laurel Canyon-y weirdness. But
weird,
77. You're right. 77, like the Oz, the Magician's Number, whatever.
Is that what that is? 77.
Yeah, well,
sevens and stuff. Yeah, I do find that interesting.
I was gonna say I don't know what the meanings are. I mean, it seems creepy that they would name it that, right? Whatever the 77's got to mean something, right?
And it's Sunset Strip, right? Like where all the Laurel Canyon shit's going down. And
it's not yet though, right? Not yet, because this is from 58 to 64. The Laurel Canyon scene didn't pop off until 64, right?
So was it? I thought it was a little bit earlier than that.
I believe the Byrds' first album was maybe late 63 with all that Dylan music. Vito Polikas is the proto Manson guy in Laurel Canyon. I think that's around 63 or 64.
Yeah. So was Sunset Strip, this 77 Sunset Strip, was that Vito's time?
He would have been hanging out in that at the time, yeah.
Because he was like the granddaddy of the whole movement, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is a series, and her episode was called Secret Island or something like that.
Okay.
But after being
this is a really creepy show, Julia. I don't think I've ever paid attention to this. Private detective and former WW2 World War II Office of Strategic Services secret agent, right? That's the main character is an OSS guy.
This is why I mentioned this stuff. Because after she's in this show, she's in a movie with Dick Clark that's called Sex Kittens Go to College.
I'm familiar with that.
So she went from 77 Sunset Strip to Sex Kittens Go to College. It's like they put it out there for you, you know?
Quite a career trajectory, right?
Sex kittens go to college? Like what?
Sex kittens.
Oh, I think we skipped over this one chronologically. She was in Rock with a convicted child sex offender, Chuck Berry.
Damn. Oh yes, Chuck Berry.
Yeah,
he knew her.
I'm not sure if he was convicted yet. He was getting popped right around this time though for the violations of the Mann Act.
Well, was it before or after this Wild in the Country with Elvis came out? And that's when they developed their little romance.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to remember when Chuck Berry, because the music record studio company folks literally brokered Chuck Berry's release from prison. Like the feds want to keep him in there for like a long time. They're like, look, this dude's got to make us a lot of money. You know, we got to get him out of there. You know. So I think he only did about 2.5. I think he was out by 1960, but it was right around this time he was with Tuesday Weld that is when he got popped. When he was committing violations of the Mann Act. So child sex trafficking wasn't really technically illegal in many states, but there was a federal law at the time called the Mann Act, which was taking an underage, minor across state lines for the purposes of sexual activity. And that's what Chuck Berry was doing.
That's what he was doing.
And he was doing a lot of it. He later would write a number one single called My Ding-a-Ling and Tour America, having people sing along with a convicted child sex offender. It's kind of dark, but that's Tuesdays, friends. That's Tuesdays, friends.
Well, I was going to say too, in that Elvis movie, she was the Wild in the Country. I don't know if it was before or after this. She played an incest victim.
Oh man.
With Elvis.
Yeah.
With Elvis. Yeah.
That was 61, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 61. So yeah, the Sex Kittens Go to College was 1960 with Dick Clark. It really makes you wonder, like, what goes on, right? Like, you got Brooke Shields as an 11-year-old, in like 1978, naked in a film as a child prostitute. And you got other, obviously Tuesdays of age here, right? She's barely of age. She's probably 17 actually, and 16 when she filmed this, right? Born in 43. She was young.
Yeah, she's right. 43.
Yeah, a little questionable, right? Having a child in a film called Sex Kittens Go to College. In college.
And it's like, look at the cover. It's your archetypes, right? You got Tuesdays, the blonde with blue eyes, and you got a redhead with a green shirt on, and then you have the brunette with like this red polka dot thing. It's the Neapolitan sex kitten for you.
Oh, so that's supposed to be Marilyn Monroe on top?
Oh, isn't that Tuesday?
On top? I thought this was Tuesday.
Which one? The redhead?
The middle one, yeah.
Oh, I can barely see it because it's so small, but I just assumed
it's not Marilyn Monroe, but I mean, are they trying to aim for a Marilyn Monroe bit? It's Mamie Von Doren.
Ooh, another blonde hair, blue eyed.
Yeah. Oh, she's one of the 3 M's. Okay, along with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield. Okay, I don't know this lady.
I don't know her either. Mamie?
Yeah, Mamie Van Doren.
I'm sure if we looked into her, she falls right in the same category with all the other archetypes.
Right. I mean, you got Mansfield and Marilyn Monroe, who, like Tuesday Weld, are dedicated to the Satanic Bible, right?
Yes. But Tuesday and Marilyn were up for the same parts very often, and they would go with Marilyn as opposed to Tuesday. And it's like, why is that? Because Marilyn is lacking the pedigree that Tuesday has. And why did Tuesday never blow up and become like a megastar the way that these women did? And this is how I would explain it. And JJ, you can agree or disagree, but it's like they use women like Jane Mansfield and Marilyn Monroe, and it's like they get them and they use them up. And they burn them out, and then they throw them away. They like die horribly at young ages, and it's like they're literally burnt out by the end of their career in their early 20s and 30s. Whereas Tuesday is almost like she's been protected, and she lives still to this day a ridiculously bizarre, charmed life. And
I agree with you there, Julia, on how they burn them out, and it's a very intentional thing, I think, as well. But to be honest with you, is her life all that charmed? She married Dudley Moore. She had a child with Dudley Moore, that little strange little hobbit-looking fella. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Arthur. Yeah.
Well, when how
charmed can your life be?
I don't know, but I watched.
He's got to be a wizard, right? I've always written it off like that dude's got to be a wizard, right? I mean, what's going on here?
Pulled that off, I guess so, right?
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, what's going on there?
I mean, she's been interviewed, and I've watched them, and she kind of like, it was like, all right, I'm just going to be a stay-at-home mom and just drink wine all day and, sit around. And basically she's just living the life of luxury. I don't know if her husband's a weirdo or not, but she got a lot better outcome than Jane Mansfield and Marilyn. I'll tell you that much.
That's true. I guess that's a good comparison. Although I think Homegirl won the competition there. Miss I don't know, what was her name? Donna Von Diem or whatever. What was this lady's name again?
Mamie?
Mamie? Yeah, Mamie Von Dean or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Because she's
But
still alive.
I feel like, oh well, maybe she's another
She wins.
Tuesday.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
wins.
But it's like these other actresses are like expendable. They're like a dime a dozen. You can create mini Marilyn Monroes, and they've done it throughout time with like Madonna and Britney Spears and Kesha, and it's like Lady Gaga. You can create as many as you want of this archetype of the blonde, blue-eyed, priestess of like the upper echelon of women, because they've done it multiple times, like I said, throughout time. But why is Tuesday protected? Like, why is she set apart? And I think these other women are like, they want to be a part of the club.
Right, but they don't have the genetics.
Right. And it's like the club that they're trying to be a part of is Tuesday's club.
Yeah, it's like when you join the mafia or whatever, you can only get in so hard unless you're part of the actual family, right? So like, so that's how I kind of view these side characters, right? Like they're not quite part of the family, but
they're like
a lower echelon of the system.
Yes, they're initiates into something that Tuesday's family built.
Exactly.
So
that's a good way to put it.
That's why she doesn't get burnt out and suicided or drug overdosed or car accident or like used up and burnt out. She's like, I'll get into it in a second, but it's like she's
inconclusive
behind the scenes,
though. Why she married this diminutive little man, though, right? We still don't know.
Let me see him.
Inconclusive.
Let me see him. I just want to see him.
Nick got to put the picture up there on the screen.
That's so funny that she didn't know who he was.
He's a tiny little fella.
Oh God, he's hideous.
Right?
He looks.
Well, if you were to watch him in like Author, you'd be like,
dude,
his personality, but you would be like, what the fuck?
He must be a bloodliner,
right?
A lot of money.
He has to be. He has to be, because it's like you don't get that high a pedigree of a Tuesday Weld unless you're a bloodliner, because
I've always thought that, right? There's something weird, right?
Yeah, because it's not like somebody with Tuesday Weld who's dated Elvis is gonna end up marrying this guy and procreating unless he's a bloodliner. She probably has a boyfriend on the side.
She was married to George Papard. Have you seen the A-Team? Colonel Hannibal Smith? I mean, she went from Hannibal Smith to this guy.
That's why it's got to be on purpose, because whatever genetics they have together is going to make the next, Tuesday.
I mean, that makes as much sense.
I agree.
As Jackson winning.
There's
but
something going on there, right?
Yeah.
Think of the obsession that she had around her for her to end up with this guy, right? Because the Beatles sang about her, the Stones sang about her, that Beach Boys song is about her. She literally could have picked anybody she wanted. Elvis had a big crush on her, and she is said to be part of the influence behind the changes of the Beatles being like bubblegummy to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. They say like Tuesday somehow played a role in that transition.
Sure. Well, you'll see that in that Lord Love a Duck movie, right? In the very beginning of it, Roddy McDowell, the greaser guy, is getting beat up by the hippie guy, right? On the beach. And Tuesday Weld's kind of like, cheering it on there. So that's her cheering on this movement of revolution of the 60s, where they're inserting this hippiedom and, the Laurel Canyon scene. They're going to be, taking the Laurel Canyon scene and inserting it across America, right? Because that really started there. And, why folks think that the 60s rock and roll started at the Monterey Music Festivals, because the Laurel Canyon folks all went up to the Monterey Music Festival as their launching effort for marketing purposes.
Right. Yeah. And the song that the Stones wrote about her, Ruby Tuesday, that everybody knows, and they probably thought that it was the day of the week or something.
Right.
Ruby Tuesday, but it actually inspired me to look into a little bit further why they would have used that terminology. Have you ever read Fritz Springmeier? You guys, either one?
13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati?
Yeah, something like that. I think he also has another one that where he so in Fritz Springmeier's work, he talks about there's levels and there's like a rank system in the dark occult. I don't know if it's specifically for SRA victims, but definitely for like programmed multiples, right? And there's like this rank system. And they're all different types of gemstones. And so the diamond is like the presidential model whore. And the emerald is like psychic stuff. They're used for rituals. And then there's the ruby, which is related to the bloodline, which is like upper echelon. They're also used in rituals, but they're more like the high priestess level. And then there are pearls, which are like mind files. And so if you look at these program multiples, most of the time they're repping their gemstone. So like Marilyn is this diamond level. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Diamonds are forever. She pushed diamonds in the 60s. And then if you look, there's Ruby Tuesday with the royal blood. And if you really dive into John Benet Ramsey and how much they push the emerald symbology with her, and that's supposed to be like psychics that are used for rituals in this rank system. But there's this one picture that everybody always posts of John Benet where she's got her pinky finger up and she's wearing an emerald ring. And it's like, why so specifically that picture of John Benet like this wearing an emerald ring on her pinky? And if you really look into these ranking systems, they're all gemstones, and these women will rep like the pearls, the rubies, diamonds, emeralds, whatever their ranking is. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think that could be what the Ruby Tuesday is about.
So you're saying it's like a ranking of her ranking within the system?
Yeah, because she's the
Sure.
ruby is like one of the most precious of the gemstones, and the ruby is red for the blood. It's like the royal blood, the high priestess, Ruby Tuesday. Because you would think it would be a diamond, right? But look what happened to Marilyn. Diamonds are literally worthless in the end. Rubies are way more precious. And you know, it's like if you look, you'll see these weird gemstones pop up with a lot of these celebs. And if it's true that she's like royal blood, which she is, and she's got the pedigree, it's very reminiscent to me of David Crosby, whose family goes all the way back to the founding fathers and shit. And I feel like he's always been protected. I mean, there's been multiple times he should have been arrested and thrown into prison and got himself into all kinds of a mess, and he just gets off with it.
Sounds a lot like the rest of the process here, doesn't it? Like Bob Cocaine Evans and John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. These people skirting off on getting drug trafficking charges.
Right. No time. It's like if you go back in the Crosby, Ruby Slippers. I love that they mention that because it's the movie The Wizard of Oz. I've covered it before. It's very occulted, and it's got so many mentions to magic in there. You got the ruby slippers for Dorothy.
David Cortland Crosby.
Ed, real quick too about the ruby. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I could see it being almost a symbol of alchemy. Most of the time, people probably don't know this, and I heard this from somebody else, so it wasn't like I figured this out on my own. Most rubies, you would find that it would look like a stone until you apply heat to it, and then it turns into what you would normally see is the red. So you even do actually have to apply heat to this thing to get it to turn into the ruby. So it's kind of alchemical in itself, I think.
Well, they say that because Tuesday started developing psychic abilities when she was really young, and clairvoyant abilities, that they almost had to like not blood her in, but they had to traumatize her in a way that would amplify, I guess, her abilities. So that also goes along with the ruby. It's like they had to heat her up a little bit to turn her into what she became. And then they protected her entire life, you know. Very reminiscent to me of David Crosby, because he also like he's got like founding fathers, signers of the Declaration of Independence, you know, Civil War generals. I mean, his family tree goes all the fucking way back.
Oh, they're the New York chapter of the society. He's a Van Cortlandt Schuler, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know
to the
that
founding
song that
families.
the Beatles sang that song, and it's like Tuesdays on the phone to me. They say
The
in the
Beatles
song.
song,
Yes. They
right?
say Tuesdays on the phone to me. If you go back and you find out what that story is, Tuesday was calling them from David Crosby's house.
Oh,
So it's like when you look at these guys, it's like, of course they hang out. Of course they're besties, you know?
right, right.
Tuesdays over at David Crosby's house, just casually calling the Beatles, and they feel like it's so significant they got to put it in a song.
Oh, for sure. There's lots of other songs too, right? I mean, just besides the Beatles and the Stones. But what do you think? So, what do you think this was in her, as far as protecting or staying out of the limelight? Like, do you think that was her decision? Like, she's quoted in '71 in the New York Times saying, like, for example, she didn't take the role for Rosemary's Baby, right? She declined the role. So, do you think that's her declining the role? Do you think there's somebody like whispering in her ear, like, you should not be doing, you do not need to go star in Cocaine Bob Evans and Roman Polanski's Process Church Satanist shitstorm here? Do
I
you think
feel
someone
like
told her that, or she's making that on her own call?
I don't think she's making any of her own decisions because she's been like kind of guided since she was age 12 with Alfred Hitchcock and stuff. But
Right, right.
this is what I'll say, because the dedication in Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible is like everyone would know who that is, who Tuesday is, if they saw that, right? Because he also mentions Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield. But there is some other quotes from Anton LaVey where he says he refers to her looks several times and how beautiful she is. He also refers to her witchery, as he says. And he basically describes her as like the heart of the ocean jewel. Like she's so special and she's so amazing and elite, if you will. But he also alluded to the fact that Tuesday will never be in the spotlight because she's serving a greater purpose, as he
Right. That's
says.
from Popular Witchcraft, straight from the witch's mouth, an interview with High Priest Anton LaVey
You
from,
found
from
it.
1972. This says 2005. That's a reprint.
There you
Yeah,
go, right there.
yeah,
He literally says, Tuesday
yeah.
will never be big. She will never be in the spotlight because she's so smart and she's serving this greater purpose. And the greater purpose has nothing to do with how famous she is.
Yeah, and in comparison to Mansfield and Monroe, he says, well, Tuesday's part of the rituals.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
whatever the hell that
Tuesday
means.
is like the upper echelon where like all these other bitches are like fodder for the cannon.
Right,
Like it's just,
right.
throw another Jane Mansfield out there. Let's get Marilyn Monroe fucked up and, it's just, I don't know. This whole thing about her being involved in rituals and like obviously the Anton LaVey stuff, and she never did make it big, but yet she knows everyone and is traveling within
Literally,
these circles.
literally.
And
Bob
she's
Hope, Steve McQueen, Elvis Presley, James Caan, Al Pacino, a lot
Bing
of Cocaine
Crosby.
Bob's friends, a lot of Cocaine Bob's friends. Robert De
Right.
Niro, these are all her co-stars in films, right?
Yeah, and I guess she's known to show up to like some of these Hollywood events with like two giant white wolves with her and
Oh, I did
stuff
not
like
know
that.
that.
And yeah, it's like, oh, Tuesday's here and she's got these two big giant white wolves at both of her sides. And it's like, okay, here comes the priestess, here comes the biggie, the big witch. And everybody like reveres her. Like, oh, Tuesday with her white wolves and shit. She's a force to be reckoned with.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I
She's going to
know.
places with some wolves.
But the thing is, it's like I said before, she knows everyone. She was in Hollywood for a little bit, but not to the point where she got burnt out and thrown away like some of the bigger ones. She's definitely part of the counterculture scene. She's got songs written about her. She knows the Beatles, the Stones. Imagine, like, how many people can you say that were even in the Laurel Canyon that could say, oh, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Stones, they all wrote songs
Right.
about me, but nobody knows who I am.
Exactly. Yeah, she's easily the most influential person in the entire scene, music, movies, you know, the whole social aspect of it. And according to some folks, I so when I asked you earlier how you'd stumbled across Tuesday Weld, it's whenever I do find people that have interested themselves in the life of Tuesday Weld and trying to understand it, I asked that question because I came across it in two ways really. So my initial interest was I'd read the works of Adam Gorightly and his series that he printed years ago, and did a couple podcast interviews with a guy, I want to say around 2009. I think he wrote the series in 2007 in Paranoia magazine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's reprinted it in books since then, but that was the original source. He interviews a guy. Are you familiar with the guy I'm talking about, where the stories come from? His source in this series, a fellow by the name of, it's escaped me, Jeff Turner.
Ooh, no. What's this?
Jeff Turner, I believe he's still alive. He's a extremely severe autistic man who works in a soup kitchen, I believe, in San Jose, California. He claims to have known Tuesday Weld for a very long time, since he was a youngster. He claims Tuesday Weld got him involved with spying on one of her underlings that had decided to leave her guys and to go take over what this man described as the Process Church, the Final Judgment. That lady's name was Christy McManus. This is all stuff that's been published. She's still alive. She's running some occult stuff in Vegas last time I looked. So that's what I'm saying. When I say last time I looked at some of the details of this guy, and some of these details do check out. This Christy McManus is definitely involved in the occult. Whether or not she was Tuesday Weld's underling, I couldn't tell you, but nonetheless, this fella doesn't seem to be spinning yarns in large part. If you ask me, there's some. I'm not willing to throw the baby out with the bathtub. You know what I mean? Just because the guy's a super autistic guy.
That's like oddly specific for it not to be true. Tuesday Weld, literally, why would her name ever come up ever?
Exactly, and no one knows she is, right? So this dude has this whole story. Gorightly, I believe, has since concluded after years later that he's kind of just moved away from this whole narrative and stuff. You don't think he has any. My understanding, he no longer has any buy-in into it, but. What a Discordian thing to do, if you ask me.
And the fact that she,
like the chief Discordian.
Well, and the fact that she's still alive and could dispute that if she found out about it,
right?
But
yeah, I don't think she's ever commented, right? Yeah, I don't think she's ever commented.
Well, maybe that's.
So this dude was allegedly spying on this network of this Tuesday Weld's underlings in the 80s out of San Jose, and then would later describe these activities to Adam Gorightly relative to this Charles Manson cult. So according to this dude, Tuesday Weld was calling all the shots in the Manson murder. Like she was at that level of the situation.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's this dude's statements, Jeff Turner's statements.
What?
Now, again, I will offer this disclaimer. Jeff Turner, they made him, I don't think he's nearly as Looney Tunes. I highly doubt he's nearly as Looney Tunes as these two filmmakers made him out to be, but I think it was intentional. So after he told these stories to Gorightly, and Gorightly published them, two film students from NYU show up in San Jose, California, I think is how the story goes. And they want to film a documentary about the man. Well, they turned that documentary into Jeff Turner's obsession with the singer Tiffany. And he was arrested.
Really?
He was arrested outside somewhere in the 80s with a samurai sword he was trying to give to Tiffany. So, there's obviously a bit of a narrative there.
Why Tiffany?
He's got a whole separate story where Tiffany runs a different faction opposite Tuesday Weld.
Oh my God, stop it. Stop it.
Her Tiffany's assistant, and again, I'm not trying to discredit the guy's story because again, some of the stuff kind of checks out over the years, right? This is something he said back in like 2007. Tiffany's assistant in that opposing faction to Tuesday Weld was Alyssa Milano. Think about how many occult films Alyssa Milano's done. Think about how much weird political stuff she's inserted herself into in recent years.
Oh my God. And all these people are still alive and could very easily
dispute these things, right?
Dispute these things, and they're not saying a peep.
Yeah, so these filmmakers turned Jeff Turner into a complete Looney Tune by putting him into a film about stalkers of Tiffany, right? While he was clearly a stalker of Tiffany, he wasn't so much a fan of her music. He had some whole thing where he's obsessed with he's familiar with this whole cult network, right? You know what I mean? So, but they really framed it in I think a very weird light with these filmmakers and this documentary. So this documentary was pretty big. So if anyone had any dispute about these subjects, like you're saying, they had opportunities to dispute. They had opportunities.
Well, listen, It's just funny you say this because somebody who came up before we started recording, I guess I'll just put it out there since Tiffany came up, but
haven't heard that name in a while, right?
Right. Well, so my brother is a musician and he has the same manager as Marilyn Manson and 9 Inch Nails, and he has been able to meet Marilyn Manson and Tiffany and some of these bigger people. And huh?
He's met Tiffany?
Yeah, he hung out with Tiffany. But no, so he's like asked Marilyn Manson like questions and he calls him Brian and shit. And like apparently
Brian
he told
Warner,
him, right? I don't know his last name. My brother always just says Brian, but
okay.
I guess Brian told him this story about like Hunter S. Thompson and Johnny Depp and like all this weird stuff. And he was wearing these sunglasses that belonged to Hunter S. Thompson, and he took them off and he like gave them to my brother and just let him wear them around for a while or whatever. But anyways, he said that like Marilyn Manson and Tiffany and they all hang out together.
What?
And like they all meet up at these same clubs and play together and stuff. Yeah.
What you're describing to me is more details confirming the tales of Jeff Turner.
That's why I brought it up, is because I had never heard Tiffany ever, besides my brother, say that those two were connected.
Yo, Macho Man was cool with him too.
With Hunter S. Thompson?
No, with
Marilyn?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
And like think of the name,
it makes
too,
sense that
right?
Hunter Thompson. Well, Hunter Thompson makes sense to me. He strikes me as an OG process guy, like his connections with Depp, their friendship over the years, or Manson for that matter. Makes sense because Hunter S. Thompson was doing security at the Esalen Institute when they were constructing the place. He was living on the grounds. He chasing people off with his 45.
Dude, there's so much stuff about him. You ever heard that he like fucked his cat and stuff like that?
Not shocked.
Yeah. Well, you know, the reason I bring it up too is because like Marilyn Manson, right? It's Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson mixed together, right? And those are two people we just got done talking about. And so he's traveling in these circles with, I guess, process people like Tiffany.
Right.
And somehow Tuesday Weld is in there too. Like, dude, that blows my mind that she even came up. And I literally have never told that story to anybody before.
That's awesome.
Did you want to see electronic music for her stuff?
She was that mall pop singer.
I'm just wondering if the style of music was even processed church people, because remember they were big into shit. Doesn't always have to sound like industrial. You know what I'm saying?
It's definitely, I mean, that's definitely that 80s kind of electrical rock, right? Or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like
didn't have a band or whatever. She just sang with some music, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know a Tiffany song, Nick.
Yeah, do y'all want to watch that quick?
I know who she is for sure. I just can't think.
I was gonna say everybody knows. Like, I think we're alone now.
Right, I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember that music. It was like digital, like it was electronic, or was it like actual?
It was like
I can't remember
everything else that came out in the 80s. It sounded kind of like,
I guess, was it new wave?
Yeah, how do you even describe it? It's like electronic, kind of weird synthy stuff. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, damn, Tiffany, that bitch.
That's fucked out, right?
Right. Oh my goodness.
I can't believe you had a story about Tiffany relative to the process. That's fantastic.
Well, I just had never heard anybody else make that connection before. And, you know, sometimes I get stories from my brother and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. But I don't know how to put the pieces together. I mean, I'm sure Manson said stuff about Depp and he said stuff about Hunter S. Thompson and stuff. But then he mentioned this Tiffany. And I was like, well, what did she have? One fucking song in the 80s that everybody knows? Like, who is this? Who is this girl anyways? And oh, my God, now it makes sense.
So according to Jeff Turner, she's also of some like Lebanese, I believe, Lebanese heritage, where she's like some sort of Sufi high priestess. She's born much like Tuesday Weld was born into a Celtic high priestess. The way he explains it is like she was born to a Sufi high priestess role.
And what is this guy's name? Jeff Turner?
Yeah, I'll be happy to introduce you and the folks of the interwebs to Jeff Turner here.
Oh, somebody's asking about Debbie Gibson.
let me find the actual trailer. I mean, you can look up his videos. The dude's a wacky dude. I'm just saying some of his
Somebody asked
stuff
about
checks out.
Blondie.
Yeah, Debbie Gibson. I remember Debbie Gibson.
Wasn't that Blondie?
Debbie Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that her name?
Oh,
I'm gonna Google it.
I don't think so.
Debbie
No.
Gibson was a different singer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? What was Blondie's name?
I don't know. Why can't I find the actual trailer to this documentary?
Oh, Blondie's real name was Angela. Never mind. Fuck me. Oh no, Debbie Harry was born Angela Trimble and then became Blondie. So her name was Debbie Harry.
Jeez.
Nick, if you want to pop that on screen, I'll introduce you all to Jeff Turner.
Look at this guy. It looks great.
Each other most of her life, and known each other most of her life, and we are in love with each other, and she's a great singer.
The difference between me and
so that's the other stalker they put in the film. This I don't think
transvestite.
Yeah, I think it was actually a hermaphrodite. I think it actually did have. I think if I recall correctly from watching this documentary years ago, they described it as having multiple sex organs of some sort, because at some point in time the autistic fellow makes fun of it for that or whatever, and it becomes a thing.
So can I just say before you hit play again that this person on screen, if you can't see, looks like Annie Lennox and Marilyn Manson mixed together.
Yeah.
It's like the same person.
Yeah, you're on point with that. Wow.
Yeah,
Look at him.
They claim they were making the documentary about Turner, and they made it more about this character. That's why I didn't.
Whoa! I mean, they've already done a great job making him look crazy.
Right? They give him, they don't really even introduce him. He's just like, "Oh, I love Tiffany," and then they show you this character.
and they don't truly love the individual.
As a 16-year-old, she was forced to get a restraining order against Jeff Dean Turner. They have my whole name in there.
There it is.
I am concerned about Jeff. I think he might need to seek some counseling.
I might ask.
Nothing like a stalker to laugh about the court.
Oh my god! But I mean, don't autistic people? It's like they just say whatever they know. Like they have no reason to like make stuff up.
That's what I'm saying. This dude's clearly got autism. You have to understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm not willing to throw the baby out with the bathtub, because the stuff he says about Tuesday Weld, and even some of the stuff he says about Tiffany, checks out. She is from this weird family, right?
Well, so this is kind of on point and kind of off point. But have you guys watched like Love on the Spectrum on Netflix? You have?
No, I'm not
familiar with that one. Twice, yes.
Okay, so I really was unfamiliar with how autistic people could be until I watched that show. And they're not big into lying. They will literally tell you all about your fucking self. And like, they'll be like, I don't even like you. I don't want to go. Yeah, right. They'll be like, I don't want to go on a date with you. Right.
Right. They'll just say some off the wall shit that is absolutely accurate and honest, but it's not exactly socially appropriate.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, okay, this guy's autistic, whatever you want to say about him. He's got a weird obsession with Tiffany, which, by the way, I'm starting to figure out. A lot of people with autism fixate on things that are just like weird obsessions about like dinosaurs and like Star Wars or whatever.
His weird obsession was Tuesday Weld. So he would go to the he would go to the set of The Many Lives of Dobie Gillis, much like he was stalking, Tiffany as an adult. As a young child, his parents were taking him to go see Tuesday Weld. Right.
See, that's what I'm saying is they develop these strange interests and they like involve themselves with it, but not to the degree of like fabricating stuff.
Right.
They just become obsessed.
I believe he knew Tuesday Weld.
Right. I think, they get so obsessed with it, they want to know everything. So if there was somebody to ask about this who would know literally all the details, it would be a guy like that.
Right. And it's just so weird to me after he drops all these Tuesday Weld details and it gets published in Steam Shovel Press and Paranoia Magazine and some other publications from Adam Go Rightly, the author who interviewed him, that film gets made immediately thereafter.
Because they got to make him look like a kook.
Absolutely.
And put a transvestite Annie Lennox in there.
Absolutely.
What was Annie Lennox talking about his character?
The other character in there?
Yeah, the one that looks like Marilyn Manson and
the personal trainer freak show. You know, I honestly think, if I recall correctly, I looked up and I don't think that person's any longer with us, but it had a lot of problems. It had a lot of problems.
But I could tell.
It had a lot of problems.
I still think a lot of stuff that is filmed as in a reality type situation is not at all. I think it's all still scripted, and it's like me and JJ have even said this. Like, these might be people, maybe even a perfect example of Tuesday Weld. They're somehow related to somebody or important somehow, either because of a club or a family, and they're like, "Here, this is, man, you could do this. We got this going." And then that's just their way of getting in there and getting something to do and getting money.
Well, oh, go ahead, JJ.
No, I was just saying, I think to this guy's situations, it's to some degree, he's part of these same families as well, right? So apparently Tiffany's Jeffrey Turner. So he is autistic. He has, I think he's just born into a system where they couldn't use the guy for anything else. And he just seemed to take notice of everything going on around him. That's kind of the way I took his situation.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you look at some of even the people who came out in the 60s, some of them weren't even like very talented, but they became huge megastars.
Yeah, most were not talented.
You know what I'm saying then, right? Yeah. Like, sure, there were some that could sing and play instruments, but like for the majority, it was like, is this even good? But they made it good. They made it so popular that you think that it's good.
You know who made it good? People like Phil Spector and Process Bob Cocaine Evans. These are the people running the music in the movies in Hollywood at the time, right? The Laurel Canyon scene, that's all Phil Spector,
Right. I just, I've listened to like Crosby, Still, Nash and the Byrds and like all these people. And I'm like, they're not extraordinarily talented, vocally, or I mean, there was some really cool songs that came out during that decade. That's why I love it so much. But I don't know. It was just like, all their families are military or like real high up. And it's like, okay, you're going to sing now. You're going to do this now. You're going to be an actor now.
Exactly. So Turner's father and stepfather were fighter pilots in the Air Force. And apparently Tiffany has some relation to that same group of fighter pilots.
My God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, though. It's like they don't even have to really be that talented as long as their family was someone.
Well, let's be honest. Was Tiffany talented? She may be more known for her Playboy appearance showing her tits in the 90s than her mall hit in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no shit. No shit.
Right after that movie was made with the I Think We're Alone Now documentary, this guy here in the Silicon Valley area, some sort of tech blog, Metro Silicon Valley, interviews Jeffrey Dean Turner there, in the aftermath of that film. It is obviously roasting him, but he goes over a lot of the details that Turner tells him in their lunch they had together, including which that Turner claims that he met Charles Manson in the late 60s, but refused to be indoctrinated into his family. And he also met David Berkowitz, the son of Sam serial killer, when he used to hang out here in South Bay in the 70s. Makes a lot of sense.
Shut your mouth.
Makes a lot of sense.
Oh my God.
If it's all process stuff, it's certainly possible, in my opinion.
I wanted to shout out somebody I saw in the comments, Tara. What's up, girl? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Mwah.
That was awesome.
But the Son of Sam thing, if you really look into it, and I did Program to Kill on Occult Rejects before,
sure.
And he's in there. And it's like he can't even be placed at the scene for some of the murders that he went down for. And yet he gets blamed for everything. And he tried to say, like, there's a much bigger thing going on. There's multiple layers. This is like, I mean, is it process or
it's definitely process?
Okay.
Yeah, I have another show coming up on Wednesday night talking precisely this, Son of Sam and the Process, with author Jonathan Mitchell. He's written.
So you know what I'm talking about then? That he said like, hey, this is a way bigger thing.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just me. I didn't do all this. So
he signed a memorandum stating all that in 1996 and witnessed not only by Maury Terry, the author of Ultimate Evil, but there's another party whose name's escaping me who's also signed there. He names people like Roy Cohn, Donald Trump's mentor, as being a member of the process.
Knew it. I fucking knew it, dude.
Something
I
up.
bring Roy Cohn.
Yeah, you and I think maybe JJ both have brought his name up multiple times.
Oh,
Dude,
I talk
that
about him
guy
almost
is
as much
a
as I
piece
can.
of shit. And it's like I said before, I think maybe it was in the Program to Kill episode, but it's like, all right, we're gonna take all of these people that Donald Trump knows that are like his mentors and stuff, people like Roy Cohn, and they're known to be pieces of shit, and we're just gonna disregard that they have any connection to each other. Why is that? Like, I don't understand it.
I don't know. I guess that's sometimes I wonder if that's like part of the magic in itself. I
Do you
think,
think?
well, it's almost as if like I think, I've heard somebody say that they think they saw this happen with I can't remember some kind of newscaster, but like people like start to almost kind of build like some false relationship with this person and almost start having feelings for them, even though they've never met. And it's so hard to believe something bad about someone after that. And if you look at a lot of Trump supporters, they're infatuated with the guy.
Well, they think he's like a messiah or something.
So it's so hard to. After that guy came out on what was it, day 2, and started talking about the vaccines, I don't know how most Trump supporters weren't like, "What the fuck,
dude?"
But they're in love with
100.
They're in love with him. So.
And it's like he's besties with, or was at least besties with Epstein, right? We're gonna forget that one too, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though there's pictures of them together. We're gonna forget about Roy Cohn. Oh, JJ, you're muted.
Epstein, never heard of him.
Oh, right. Never heard of him. Never heard of him. That's I guess that, like I said, that's another one that they want you to forget about. But this Roy Cohn guy, oh my God, JJ, you got to tell Nick more about him sometime. He's literally like, wasn't he the one with the Violet scandal or whatever?
Yeah, we did. We're gonna do some more on it, I think, but we did it on the last one of the Mormons, and with Heidi Love, we did a whole series on Mormons and parapolitics. And Roy Cohn comes into play because he's on the board of Permadex in that JFK situation, along with Clay Shaw, the man that Jim Garrison charged, and and Joseph Bonanno, the head of the 5 families. He was the head of the Bonanno family, but he was the head of the board of the 5 families at the time in New York City. They're all sitting on this weird multinational corporation board that's in charge of murking presidents. Like they try to murk the French president twice.
Yeah, and wasn't he doing something around the time like the Franklin scandal was going on, where they were bringing little boys to the White House and stuff? That was Roy Cohn's time.
I think he was dead at that time. I think he
died.
I think he died just prior to the Franklin. I mean, he may have been involved in the Franklin scandal. And by all means, I wouldn't doubt it. The man was well connected in politics and diddling. So, but yeah, I think he died of AIDS in '86. If I remember correctly.
Well, I remember Paul Benassi saying something about him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he may. I don't know enough of the details about the Franklin stuff. He may very well come up with that. Because obviously, the Franklin scandal may have got outed in the '80s, but it was obviously going on a lot longer than that, right?
Yep. It went all the way into the '90s with that civil trial.
Right.
So, but anyways, that's beside the point. Roy Cohn knows the son of Sam.
Oh yeah, he claimed to meet him and gone to his parties. They all hung out at the Studio 54 together. So another member of the cult was allegedly an aide to the Mayor Abe Beam. That man was he left that job and became Roy Cohn's law partner in the late 70s. Their clients were the Studio 54 owners. That's where
and then he went on to be Trump's mentor.
Oh, he's already Trump's mentor at this point. He meets Trump in 1973. Roger Stone introduces the two. Roger Stone just meets Trump. He says, "Hey, you got to meet my friend Roy Cohn." So Donald had just hired him in 78.
I can't.
I think it's 78. You can find a picture of it.
That's what I'm telling you, though.
It's called Roy Cohn's 52nd birthday party at Studio 54. It was a Vanity Fair article and stuff. Roy Cohn's got like on a little leash, like a little cross-dressing Donald Trump right next to him there at his party. I think Donald's 28.
You have that picture?
He just hires. I'll find it. He just hires Roy Cohn as his attorney for this building he's purchasing, and then Roy's having his birthday party at the club where his other clients that he's representing in some coke trafficking, the Studio 54 owners. That was basically, so according to Berkowitz, Studio 54 was essentially the Process Church hangout.
So he's hanging out. So Roy is hanging out with the son of Sam Berkowitz and Trump cross-dressed on a leash all during the same time.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I like to look at it like this, that somewhere around circa 1977, you may have in fact had Donald Trump, Roy Cohn, David Berkowitz, and Michael Jackson moonwalking around the dance floor of Studio 54 together.
I can't.
Shut the fuck absolutely up. Oh my God.
They were all there.
This is why I can't get on board with any politics whatsoever. It's like you literally cannot choose a team when it comes to this stuff because they're all just cross-dressing Process Church members.
Exactly. Oh, this is the article about the birthday boy. Roy Cohn is 52 at 54. I'll have to find the picture. But in this article, you'll see another person who's got connections to the Nexium cult, or as I like to call them, the Albany chapter of the Process Church. And that is here at Roy. They go over all the people that show up here at Roy Cohn's birthday party, and I'll go over Donald Trump is listed here too. But you got mob figures, you got mayors, you got judges, district court judges, you know what I mean. And then you scroll down here and you see Chuck Schumer, Jr.
Wow.
Newcomer Chuck Schumer, a reform assemblyman from Brooklyn. He's not even U.S. Congress yet. He's an assemblyman from Brooklyn who insisted he was just the date of a gossip columnist. Well,
he sucked Roy off. He sucked him off and became.
Oh man.
I would argue the reason why he's connected to the Nexium stuff now is because he was connected to the Process stuff back then.
And he was sucking dudes off. I'm telling you.
Well, that goes hand in hand, right?
These parties.
It goes hand in hand. I think you kind of accept that going in the door. I think, right?
Right. Have you guys ever watched Adventures in Babysitting? And it's like nobody leaves this place without singing the blues. Well, nobody leaves Roy's house without sucking the dick. So that's
right.
Hey, wasn't that Chuck Berry in that said that? Nobody gets out of here without singing the blues. That was Chuck Berry.
Was that really Chuck Berry? Holy shit! I haven't seen him in so long.
Chuck Berry.
I haven't seen him in so long.
Was
that around the same time he was filming prostitutes to fart in his mouth?
Yo, come on.
Yeah, when they raided his house in the late 90s, I think it was late 90s. He had installed cameras in all these KFCs and Taco Bells across the Midwest that he owned in women's toilets. And the feds raided the restaurants and his house about that. When they raided his house, the feds seized a box of videos of him recording himself hiring hookers just to fart in their mouths. And the feds released this. The reason why this became out, somebody leaked it to the tabloids. You know what I mean? So like,
oh my God, nobody gets out of this Taco Bell without farting in my mouth.
Oh, shit, yeah. He'd already been a convicted, child sex offender with the Mann Act decades prior, but he got busted for filming women in bathroom toilets of the restaurants he owned.
God, Taco Bell too.
Chuck Berry. Yeah, right. Taco Bell of all places.
Yeah, let me see. Yo, JJ, this might be the picture. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, you got it. I'm looking forward to it.
So. Is this it?
That's it. That's 28-year-old Donald Trump.
Oh my God. It's just like Tom Hanks. And they dressed him up as a girl too.
Yep. So according to this article about that party right there, Trump has just hired Roy Cohn to be his attorney. It says
and suck dicks.
Well, that's you could probably do that in the coat room before you even get into the actual place. the crowd from my recent Voice series was there. 32-year-old developer of the Commodore Hotel and the Convention Center, Donald Trump. So he had just right prior to this photograph, he had just hired Roy Cohn as his attorney, but he'd known Roy for about 6 years, about 5 years.
That's why he knew to show up to the party in full drag.
Well,
like,
if you ask
"Oh,
some
it's
folks, there's some folks in the Son of Sam community. I'm not one of them, but there are some folks in the Son of Sam community that think one of the sketches of these shooters looks a lot like Donald Trump,
oh boy,
who would have been about 26 at the time.
Wow. Yes, yes. You know, somebody in my family the other day, they sent me this hoodie. They were like, "Oh my God, I gotta get this." And it was a picture of Donald Trump in front of the White House, and it said "Daddy's home." And I was like, I'm just gonna kill myself if I see another thing like this. I mean, it's just so Daddy's home to suck dicks in the White House, you know.
In the coat room.
Right. Look at this stuff. Look at it.
Just
He probably farted in his mouth right after this picture was taken.
So he would have been 25 at the time of this sketch right here, I believe.
Trump was yelling, "Drill, baby, drill."
But here's the Son of Sam shooter sketch that looks a lot like Donald Trump.
With or without drag.
This would have been a couple years pre-drag. This would have been 76. That was 79.
Oh my God! Look at that! It looks like freaking, what's his son's name? Barron? Look at that picture. That's the young Trump right there.
I suppose the circumstantial argument could be made he did know Roy Cohn, who Berkowitz claimed was a member of the process, but no, I've never seen anything that claimed Berkowitz knew Donald Trump or claimed he was one of the shooters. He's identified all of these shooters as somebody else, but there is this sketch that people like to, hey, why does this look like him?
Why does it look like him?
Yeah.
Damn.
God damn, that's him. Someone says
that is got to be him. I don't care what anybody says. That looks just like him. If you see people, like, because I've studied the Zodiac, and they have like the Zodiac composite sketch, and every single person they try to put next to it and say, "Oh, this was the Zodiac. This was the Zodiac." I'm like, dude, that looks nothing like the composite sketch. I would know that was Trump without even seeing the side by side. Like, that looks uncanny as fuck.
You know, it's funny. The hair even fits him today. Still,
Yeah.
you know, it's like very sometimes thick on one side.
And the weird eyebrow.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a picture of him at that time. I can't find a picture of him at the age of 25 or 26.
Like, one of them sticks up way more than the other one. That's crazy.
Same guy.
Dead ringer.
Dead ringer, for real. Yes.
Oh shit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it does have bear resemblance. There's no question.
I mean, you just blew my entire mind, because I've talked about Roy Cohn for the last year now, since I read I covered it in the Pedopocracy series, but since I read Program to Kill and I found out about him and his connection to Trump, I've been talking about him, and I'm like, people need to look into this guy because he's fucked up. But I didn't know to the degree, cross-dressing and shit like that. Son of Sam Process Church. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think Donald Trump knew Tuesday Weld, but he definitely knew her cousin Bill Weld. The politician.
So crazy. I wonder,
Bill Weld ran against him right in 2016, right? He was the Libertarian Party's VP against Trump in 2016. Bill Weld. Can
you find a recent picture of her? I feel like that would be a good way to sum everything up. I just wonder what she looks like now. Yeah.
She's actually aged decently. As far as, comparison to, like you were saying, Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, I guess, right?
Yeah, who died very ritualistically.
Poor Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield knew the Son of Sam cult people.
Damn it. She was also on the
she was married to a Westchester County politician.
That's nuts. She was on
she's buried there.
The album cover for Magical Mystery Tour.
Okay.
The Beatles cover that's got all these different Sergeant Pepper's. Sorry, Sergeant Pepper's. Yep. She's right there, and she's commonly mistaken to be Marilyn Monroe, but it's Jane Mansfield.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. That's Jane Mansfield, not Marilyn Monroe, huh?
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be Tuesday Weld in 2020.
I wonder if we picked apart all those people, if we'd see some sort of commonality between
you should pull it up, because actually I have one. Oh, is that her right there?
That's supposedly
I
her in
mean-
2020.
She don't look terrible.
No, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't look, she's got her hair, I mean, she seems possibly maybe have her teeth still,
Yeah,
are
it looks like her
achievements that-
skin is pretty smooth, probably from all the.
Yeah, she doesn't look too much like a demon, does she?
Yeah, she probably got baby dick skin injected into her face or whatever they do. Baby circumcised scrotum blood.
It was spinal
all that.
bifida.
Yeah. All the creams and ointments they rub on each other's beeholes.
Right.
But yeah, no, Nick, pull up that cover because I feel like this is the cover that people talk about was like one of the major signals that the old Paul had died and was replaced by the new Paul. And if you really look at it, there are so many things in there, even beside Jane Mansfield, which she was killed in a car wreck the same way that they say the old Paul was killed in a car wreck.
Sure. Beheaded, right?
Right. I do feel like that's significant because if you were going to put somebody on there and everybody mistakes it as being Marilyn Monroe, but it's like they both, the old Paul supposedly and Jane Mansfield died in like horrific car accidents.
Oh, that's definitely a different Paul. There's no way that's the same Paul.
Yeah, to me, it's not.
It's not even close.
It's
not even close.
If you look, it's like the new Beatles are burying the dead. See, if you look at the original Beatles, it's like they're all sad and they're mourning and they're looking at the grave. And then it's like a super tall Paul in blue that's way taller than the Paul over here because he was supposedly like 6 inches taller than the old Paul. And they definitely, you can see that. And then they have right over there Jane Mansfield front, and she's right in the very front row, commonly mistaken for Marilyn Monroe in the gold dress. There's also, I think, Edgar Allan Poe. He died weird. There's Aleister Crowley in the back.
Karl Marx.
I don't know. So I guess it would be my top left. You can see Aleister Crowley right there. Isn't Hitler in here somewhere too? I feel like.
I see Marlon Brando.
I mean, Marilyn Monroe is in there. She's in black and white. But
she's almost right in the middle, basically. I see it now.
Yeah. But she's not the center of attention, not like Jane over here.
For sure.
And they're standing at a grave, which I have always thought was significant. Like, why are they standing at a grave with the old Beatles, like, sad and crying and shit?
Right.
I don't know. There's something about the little girl in the chair too with the red and white striped shirt on right there. There's something about that too. Oh, I wish I could go back. I did an episode on it, and there's something. It looks like it's got like it's like a blood. Welcome the Rolling Stones, and it looks like it's like splattered with blood.
Creepy.
Yeah, like on the arm, it actually does look like that.
Yeah. So there's something about that too. It was like the transitioning between the old Beatles and the new Beatles and the Rolling Stones, something like that. It was around like the same time. I can't remember when they replaced Paul. But it
was right before this, 66. This is 67.
20
years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. Is often assumed they're talking about Crowley. He died in 47.
Ooh. But yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those rabbit holes you can go down because it's just such a hodgepodge of like weird stuff and like why put it together in that way?
Well, their process. I mean, they're doing weird process stuff. Well, that's where John met Yoko. Was it the Process Church coffee shop in Mayfair? Yeah, it was owned by Paul McCartney, the original Paul's girlfriend's brother. Jane Asher was his girlfriend. Peter Asher, major music producer guy in Hollywood till this day. I think he's associated with the P. Diddy stuff, if I'm not mistaken. That he was a member of the process, and he owned the coffee shop and headquarters over there in the Mayfair district. Their first cousin, Jane and Peter Asher's first cousin, lives in Kanab, Utah today. She's an OG member of the process.
So do you know if the guy who shot John Lennon was process? Because
we were just talking about that, actually. We were just talking about that on Friday night, weren't we, Nick? Yeah, we were on our Friday night show. We were talking. Why did we start talking? Oh, because our guest was talking about the JFK assassination in Lennon vans. And I was like, I know a Lennon van. And there's a guy that drives around America claiming that Stephen King murdered John Lennon. But we started talking about the process and everything else.
Really?
Are you not familiar with Stephen King murdered John Lennon?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Right?
Because I know that the guy that they blamed it on, Mark David, wasn't that his name? Chapman?
Chapman, yep.
He was a good friend of Kenneth Anger.
Yeah, he had some connections right to Scientology too, I believe.
Right. So I just wondered if the process came in anywhere with that.
That's interesting.
I'm going to look more into it. I mean, it happened at the Dakota building. That's where Bob Cocaine Evans and Roman Polanski filmed their Satanist shit show of the film Rosemary's Baby. It was supposed to start Tuesday Weld until she turned it down.
I was going to say, there you go. There's the tie back. It was supposed to be Tuesday. The high priestess witch herself.
No, I'm sure there's more to the Lennon murder there with the process for sure. Quite positive.
Who fucking even knows? But yeah, I think this is a really great place for people to, like, if they've never looked into her, or if they're this is like the first time they're ever hearing about her, to go and just look at her Wikipedia. Because there's, if you start at the top and you just go all the way down, there's so many things in there you just would not believe, like she's connected to, or that people that she knew, circles she traveled in. And some people have even speculated that that plane crash with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper and Richie Valens was like the sacrifice that ascended Tuesday into the counterculture movement.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. That's on American Pie, right?
Yeah.
By Don McLean,
American
right?
Pie. Yes.
Would you believe that Don McLean's forefather first of all, Don McLean's a member of the Society of Cincinnati. His forefather was a potential member. His forefather was a member. His paternal forefather, and his paternal forefather most certainly knew Eliezer Weld, Colonel Eliezer Weld. There, and they served together. So
maybe that's what the connection is, though, because they say that's what it was. Yeah, it was
so they're rumored to be dating, right? Weld and McLean, right? And that's what he writes that song about, a tribute to his girlfriend's rise to power. Well, lo and behold, their families have history together.
Holy shit! Because I never knew what the tie was, because they said that plane crash. It was the sacrifice for Tuesday, and then she was supposed to like ascend into whatever, and then the American Pie song was supposed to be about that, and then oh my god.
Do you know the source of that tale you just described?
No.
Jeffrey Dean Turner, the autistic man in the soup kitchen in San Jose, California.
He said that?
Yeah. That was from the Go Rightly series.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying. The dude's onto something, right? He makes some good points.
I want to meet the fucker. I want him on my show.
Alive. He's still alive. Yeah, I'm sure you could probably contact him. But that song is definitely about a ritual. I mean, the entire last verse is all about, it mentions Satan twice, satanic rituals, and everything else.
One of my favorite songs too. Is crazy.
Right.
When the first time you hear it, like I was a kid the first time I heard it, and you just sing it, in passing because it's catchy, but it means something totally different to me as an adult. It's
right.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, if I was to ever get in contact with this autistic guy, I would not want to interview him alone. I would definitely need backup.
Oh, let me know if you get a hold of him.
You get several people.
Yeah.
Right.
You get a hold of him. I'll come question the man. I'll talk autism to autism with the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You are not autistic, are you?
I've never been tested. My son is extremely, he's definitely autistic, but something he managed to deal with in his life.
I've mentioned to Colby before, because like we've done shows together, and I'll be like, the way JJ can recall information, it, you know, maybe you are autistic. I don't know, dude.
Oh,
Like I can't remember shit the way you can.
Yeah, my son's got me my son's got me beat. You know, he's but he was diagnosed, so they never sent me to a doctor. I'm just saying, like, he and I operate on the same wavelength.
No, for sure. Like I have to have notes. I have to, you know, go back because I'll forget shit and like be trying to go off my memory and I can't remember shit. But some of the stuff that you bring up, I'm like, how the fuck does he remember all this? It's like verbatim quotes and like places and like stuff in history. But
yeah,
anyways,
let me know.
no,
We'll do some autism with Jeffrey Dean Turner sometime. I'll be happy to help.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's great.
Yeah, you have to be there, but no, thanks for having me on though, you guys. I think this was a really cool episode.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, for sure. I had a great time. I got one question there for you, Julia. So, you know, not necessarily a Laurel Canyon, band, but obviously not really Hollywood band, neither that for, LA scene at all, really. But Lynyrd Skynyrd, they sang Tuesday's Gone in 1973, and their plane crashes in 1977. What are your thoughts on those connections?
Oh shit! What?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Yep.
Gay family fits
my
into-
favorite band. That's my favorite band. I can't forget about
I love
Lynyrd
Skynyrd.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like one of my favies.
Jeez,
Yep.
August 1973, the jam Tuesday's Gone. August 1977, most of the band was gone in the plane accident.
If anybody followed my I think I've actually talked to Nick about this before, but if anybody's followed my show for a while, they know that I've put together all these like weird things that happen in August or around 8s and stuff. Like Marilyn Monroe died in August. Tuesday Weld was born in August. Apparently they came out with this song in August and then died August the next year.
Yeah, they October 77 is when Skynyrd plane crashed. Which it claimed most of the band. I think all but three members. I think we're all killed there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's weird. Did you say the song came out in August?
Yeah, August of 73, I believe it was.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, there's just
that's
all
when you
this
have this
weird with August.
August 13th. That was August 9th. Was August the 9th through the 10th, 10th and 11th. I think were the Manson murders, right? Is that right? August 10th and 11th.
It's always August.
1969.
It's always August. If people look and they see, like if you even Google like tragedies that happened in August, celebrities that died in August, it's like it's astounding the amount of stuff that has went down that seems super ritualistic to me in August. Like when did the Buddy Holly plane go down? Was that August?
No, I think that was February.
February, okay.
February 3rd, 1959.
I had a whole list of these August things. I wish I had that list still so I could tell you some of the stuff, but
there's a lot of Zodiac stuff popping off along with Manson stuff right in August that same year, right?
Yeah. I think John Bonet was born in August. Just the more you look for it, you'll find it. And it used to not be significant to me, but then the more I started looking into it, it's like, oh, another August. And it's got to mean something.
Given these cult folks we're talking about and their affinity for the star Sirius, this ancient alien cargo cult systems these people all subscribe to, and their affinity for the star system Sirius or Dog Star, is this going on during the dog days of summer? What you're describing, it sounds like it is.
It is, yeah, because I wanted to look further into it. I don't want to tangent too hard, but Santos Bonacci, right, and his holy science and the Zodiac thing. And
Nick does. I'm not familiar with this guy, but Nick's
he's a cool guy.
He actually follows me on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
Does he really?
Yeah.
He's a big astrologer, or what are we talking?
Yeah. He is. I think he's done some great work. I just think he's getting a little old and a little fried out at this point. That's
okay. Yeah, I think he's I think he's done the same presentation so many times he's kind of burnt himself out on it. But the information is still really cool, and he talks about the dog days, the serious dog days of summer, and he talks about significant things happening during that time because it's under the sign of Leo and the sun worship, and most of these cults and a lot of religions are based off of sun worship I think because Catholicism is one of the most guilty parties of sun worship. But August is Leo. It's the sun, and it's also the dog days, the Sirius days. So it's literally like multiple things at one time during that part of the year. So
these ancient alien cargo cultists love Sirius. All of them. The Mormons, the Process, all the Rosicrucians, the Masons, they all love Sirius.
Yes.
Probably the Catholics.
The civilization that built Göbekli Tepe built it in alignment with Sirius. It's anciently old. The ancient civilization that built Gigantea, it's on Malta. They built it in alignment with the star Sirius. If you look at the Truman Show, even there are several mentions to Sirius in the Truman Show with Jim Carrey, and also Jim Carrey, The Mask. It's a story about Sirius and Loki. So, I mean, it's
The
everywhere
Mask?
if you look for The Mask. Yeah, the
I've seen the movie in
folklore.
so long.
Yeah, the folklore behind the mask, the real mask, is about Loki and Dog Star Sirius.
Wow.
So, if you look for it, Sirius symbology is everywhere.
Yeah, it is
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's in like
Pleiades are better than
blatant-
Sirius. What does that mean?
What?
Somebody says that.
Well, I just wonder because that's who founded the town of Moscow, Idaho, was this Pleiades club. Yeah. They started the university there. It was the wife of the first president and 6 wives of 6 administrators or teachers. There were 7 sisters of the Pleiades. There's Pleiades club. That's seems to be some occult origins of that town. I don't know enough about Pleiades. I don't know enough about stars. I don't believe in them. Nazis described them to me, and so did kid diddlers, and I don't believe in anything either one of those parties say.
Well, they seem to believe in it. That's what I care about. I want to know why. I want to know
They
why
believe
they
in something.
do the
I'm just
things they
saying I don't
do.
believe in what they're describing it as, right? Like I'm sure there's something up there, right? It has some kind of effect and importance.
There is this is a cult you can look into, JJ. It's called the Order of the Solar Temple. They were also
I think
they
Nick's
were
told me
Dog
about
Star Sirius followers.
You know what's funny? That just reminded me. No lie, I recorded part 1 of a 2-part series with Thrash and Mike probably 8 months ago.
About the Solar Temple?
Yeah, we never got to part 2 yet. I totally forgot.
Oh my god, it's so nice.
Yeah, it is wild.
I'm reading about it right now. Yeah,
it's blatantly a cult. They didn't hide anything. They
Yeah,
burned
they
places
took
down, killed people. There was multiple suicides choreographed in different countries.
in Switzerland and France. And they also took all of their inspiration from Alice Bailey, who was a theosophist.
Yeah. Well, all UFO cults seem to go back to theosophy.
Alice Bailey with the New Age ideals. Yeah.
I like the way
it's all
Wikipedia
there.
describes this cult. Variously described as a esoteric new religious movement, a Neo-Templar group, a Rosicrucian organization, a doomsday or suicide cult, a new magical movement, a magical esoteric religion, or a secret society, among many other descriptors. These people, they got a lot of skill sets. They're pretty prolific. I like this cult.
Dude, JJ, the body count is 74 for this
Get
cult.
out of town. Get out of town.
And again, that's multiple countries I think are involved. Like possibly 2 at least.
And
we're not talking a Jim Jones situation. These are independent activities of 74, right?
They're independent, and it spanned over 3 years of deaths.
Good lord.
Yes, you got to look into them, man. They're fucking balls to the wall nuts. So crazy.
I definitely will. Nick's been telling me about him too, for sure. I'll definitely look into him. Thank you.
Yeah.
I see the Sirius worship there too. Yeah, they're
It's
always serious, isn't it?
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, guys, this was a good one.
Oh yeah,
no, for sure.
Definitely mind blowing for me.
I've been looking forward to talking Tuesday Weld, and I appreciate it, Julia, that I had an opportunity to share some Tuesday Weld thoughts with you here today. And
hell yeah,
and let me know if you get a hold of that autistic fellow. I'll be happy to help.
I will. I'll let you know if I get. You know what the most mind blowing part of this show for me was? Cross dressing Donald Trump. I think.
There you go. There you go. Will haunt your nightmares from now on. Roy Cohn with Donald cross-dressing Trump on a leash.
That's so crazy to me. David Berkowitz in the background.
Yeah.
Yep, partying it up. Just partying it up.
Yeah.
All coked out.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
right.
his jaws like going all over the place.
Just
Yeah,
farting in
yeah.
each other's mouths.
Oh,
And
Well,
just...
that's Chuck Berry. We don't know if he was there. We don't know if he was there.
Oh, he was there. Come on.
He was fist pumping.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Singing his number one hit, My Ding-a-ling. It's a real song. It's a real song. It was a number one hit for him.
Oh God. No way. Maybe we should do the next one on Chuck Berry.
Maybe.
You might actually find some decent stuff in there.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you, nobody gets
Doing pull up those old tabloid articles.
Right. Nobody gets out
About
of
him
this place
farting in
without
mouths.
touching my dangling.
I'm done.
All right. I appreciate your all's time today with the Tuesday Wells conversation for sure, and the folks of the interwebs.
All right. You good? We're done?
You got any closing statements? What you got any closing thoughts there, Nick?
No, not really. No. I thought it was really good. Like, again, I feel bad I didn't have anything to add, but I mean, this is just interesting. So many different things that it connects to. I even like to bring it back up, but even starting to follow, like I was thinking for a while, all these plane crashes. Like there's even some
right,
man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plane crashes, RFK, yeah, plane crashes to those guys for La Bamba. I mean, there's all these people. It's like, why are we using planes
Aaliyah
knocking people off?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a plane crash episode if you guys want me to talk about it sometime, but Aaliyah is a crazy one.
Oh yeah, I might actually be interested on that. That was something you. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm hijacking the show now. But real quick, I think you inspired me to do this. I did a couple of shows where I covered the 17th of every month and weird stuff that happened on that. And there was a few times where plane crashes were huge.
I'm telling you.
What is up with plane crashes on the date of the 17th?
Because it's an 8. That's the dog star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sirius, the infinity symbol.
Seriously.
All right.
No pun intended.
I appreciate the Operation GCD takeover. Again, I wasn't going to have this conversation not on Occult Rejects when we're all when Julie and I were Occult Rejects and we spawned this whole show off of last week's Occult Elvis show, which I highly recommend folks check out.
Yes, next week.
Next
all
week,
right.
yeah, right.
Yes. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up here. And the chat was off the hook. Thank you, everybody in the chat. That's what's up. I tried to pay attention and throw up a lot of your comments. So thank you all again. And thank you, Tara. That's what's up. You're the best. And that's the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well.